Hey guys, welcome back to Team Death Slinger. My name is Peter, and today we're going to talk about the best level 7 Digimon that are purple in the card game. This has been brought on by the new BoltBoutamon that is coming out in BT23, so I want to talk about purple level 7 Digimon, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to set some ground rules as we usually do with these top 10 lists. So, if the level 7s in question do not have to be purple themselves, I don't care if they're white, I don't care if they're multicolored, as long as they can Digivolve on top of a purple level 6 Digimon, I'm counting them as purple level 7s. They are probably going in a purple deck. The rankings are generally going to consider the current viability, general playability, pros and cons, consistency, normal things, I think, when you consider the playability of a card. Before we get into it, though, let me know what your predictions are for the number one ranked Digimon in the comments down below. What do you think is the best purple level 7 Digimon in the game? All right. Other disclaimer, this list is fully subjective and just my opinion. Please don't get mad if I have a card that you think is really, really good as like number 10, because, it's subjective at the end of the day. It's what I think, not an actual hard ranking for the card game. So, number 10, starting off, still kind of strong, honestly. Omnimon Zwart defeat. Security plays card without battling, without paying its memory cost. When digivolving, delete one of your opponent's tamers, and on deletion, delete one of your opponent's Digimon. So, in my opinion, this card is very high roll. The main appeal of this card is the ability to net a free body on a security check, but you got to keep in mind that no battle happens when you do that. So even if they're supposed to crash into a 13k body with like a rookie, yes, you are getting a 13k body out of security, but their rookie did not die, and that rookie is still going to threaten a security check on their next turn if you do not remove it. So in that sense, kind of a bummer. It's a decent rate for tamer removal at a 3 cost Evo, and the on deletion honestly is kind of mediocre if you don't net the free body from security. You're not going to want to trade away your whole stack if you Evo into this. Most of the time, I feel like level 6s in purple want to keep doing things. A lot of good level 6s in the game want to keep doing things. They attack, they do things, they're netting you value consistently, and Evoing into a card that's going to pop a tamer and then just want to die is not usually super worth it, to be honest with you. The lack of when attacking effect really leaves this card in the past, more modern card design in that aspect, and it gets most of its value as either a free body that randomly swings games or a free body that trades up in value. So kind of the appeal and value of this card is that random chance that it's going to pop out of security and do some work for you. But still a very cool card, and for me, number 10. Number 9, Benry Lugan Takamikazuchi Ace. It is a 6 cost Evo on purple or yellow level 6. It is importantly a Blast DNA from hand, not a Blast Evo. On play, when digivolving, 2 of your opponent's Digimon get minus 10k, and then if a tamer's in your sources, delete something with 10k or lower. And then when attacking by trashing your top security, you activate with this Digimon's when digivolving effect. So this is technically playable as a generic Ace card. You can Evo into it, you just cannot Blast Evo outside of your archetype. So in that aspect, not great. If you can keep turn on Evo and swing, you're going to dish out the minus 20k collectively. That's going to remove really anything. I mean, you're giving minus 10k, and then you're going to be able to delete something 10k or less, and then when attacking, you get to give the minus 10k again, so you can minus 20k something if you want. The when attacking is also not once per turn, so you can make big swings if you have unsuspended inherits. Yes, you would be trashing away a lot of your security to do that, but if you have ways to unsuspend this card, technically, if you have the security to go burr, you can go burr and just keep zapping your opponent's board. Which is interesting and something that you certainly can do if you're in a position where you feel like you have to do that. The Tamer Clause is also not limited to mind-blinked cards, so there's some level of flexibility in hybrid packages. As long as you got a Tamer in your sources, I mean, technically this could go on top of something like an ShineGreymon or an Ancient Sphinxmon or any of the other purple level 6 cards that would eventually start from a hybrid. And we do technically have the 2 cost generic hybrids that can evolve on any color of tamer. So if somehow you could bridge into purple from one of those tamers and then put Benry Lugamon Takamikazuchi Ace on top of it, well, you have access to this card with the tamer clause enabled. So that's something, right? Offering to overflow 5 to dish out minus 20k DP is not really worth it, though, especially if you're paying 6 cost to Evo. In the worst case scenario, you're at a net like 11 memory investment for this card. And just because of that, it obviously works much better as a Blast DNA, not so well as a generic level 6, but the effect is still really strong. And I think if you wanted to run it because you really like the card, you could, and it's still better than Zwart Defeat. Number 8 on this list, Beelzemon Blast Mode from ST14. When this card is trashed from your deck, delete one of your opponent's level 3 or lower. For every 10 cards in trash, increase the highest level you can choose by 1. When digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon. If you have 20 or more cards in your trash, gain 3 memory. So, Mill continues to get more and more support. That means this card is probably viable in all of those mill decks. Unfortunately, it is very much crept out by the new Dualahamon. There is basically, in my opinion, not really a reason to run this, to be entirely honest with you. It's a very, very high roll situation. You might get to pop a level 5 or 6 Digimon when you mill. If you have 20 or 30 cards in trash, then you're going to get some actual value off of milling this card. Most of the time, you're going to mill it away early, though, and you're going to be like, well, there's no level 3 for me to pop. And it's being relegated to being a semi-limited closer in a narrow archetype. What I mean by that is that of all the purple decks you have, there's only really mill that is going to put 20 cards in trash for you to efficiently close the game with this. And even then, that's just a narrow archetype within a narrow archetype, right? Like, you got to be able to build 20 cards in trash to play this, so it's a little bit tough. There's no built-in removal, which means blast mode can't clear the way to close games past blockers or redirect effects. So if your opponent's got something in the way, no security, and you're trying to push for game, well, this can't clear the path to get you to close the game. It's just unfortunately not going to get you there because they can either block or redirect. Yes, it's going to clear resources off their board, but it's still not going to win you the game, and that's kind of a bummer. So it just kind of feels like a more expensive win harder way to close the game. So it's just not really fantastic, especially with the new BoltBoutamon coming out that also costs 4 generically. It doesn't have the trash clause, but it's going to outperform in other ways. Number 7 on this list is DeathXmon from BT9. When you would play this card, reduce its memory cost by 3 for each Digimon and Tamer your opponent has in play. On play, when Digivolving, de-Digivolve 1 on all of your opponent's Digimon, then delete all of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. End of your opponent's turn, or delete all of your opponent's Digimon at the lowest play cost. So, unfortunately, this card gets completely walled by Medieval Gallantmon. It does not feel good playing this out, and then you're going to do the thing, but Medieval's never going to get de-Digivolved because they're going to have hard played it, and then it's going to activate its effect, and you're going to say goodbye DeathXmon more than likely. Extremely strong in certain matchups. If your opponent's going really wide and you can plop this down for really cheap, then great. It is fantastic, but your opponent really needs to have like 5 or 6 things on board before this feels great to plop down. De-Digivolve is still the best removal method in the game. There's not many things that have protection from de-Digivolve, although that is very slowly changing. Despite that, though, at the current moment, it's the best removal by far. If it's unanswered, it will continue to threaten removal each turn. With that end of opponent's turn effect, you're going to continue to force them to either play out a low-level body or face your deletion effect, unless they have protection, of course. Unfortunately, it does not answer some board states. It can't handle tall OTK strategies that are really good right now. If your opponent's promoting a level 6 stack that is going to just end your existence, well, DeathXmon doesn't do anything about that. It's not going to answer that in the slightest. It can't answer level 6 Digimon in general. I mean, you're going to de-Digivolve them by 1. They're going to be a level 5, and then you're going to delete all of the non-existent level 4s on the board. And 6 to de-Digivolve and maybe pop is just not worth the Evo cost. Like, if you have a level 6 stack chilling out there and you're even thinking about Evoing into this, it's just not worth the 6 memory. It's just not that great. Number 6 on the list, Omnimon Zwart from BT5. You're going to have to hear me out on this one, my friends. When Digivolving, trash the top 3 cards of your deck. Then you may play 2 black and or purple Digimon cards with play cost of 8 or less from your trash without paying their memory costs. Then when attacking, you may return a level 6 Digimon card in this Digimon's sources to its owner's hand to delete one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon with a play cost of 12 or less. So, first of all, we love him. We love our Omnimon Zwart here. He gets bonus points just from that. He's expensive as an Evo, but he does scale. So as the more purple and black Blast Aces are released, this card gets better and better. Your option pool gets wider and wider of what bodies you can play out with this card. Right now, some of my favorite cards to play with this are Beelzemon Ace, which synergizes great, by the way, because you're going to be building trash off the Omnimon Zwart mill, and just milling naturally with Beelzemon is going to make Omnimon Zwart even more effective because you're going to have more options in the trash to play back. Grand Quagamon Ace is a great purple Blast Ace to be playing back. Darkmon Ace is a de-Digivolve effect that you can play back. Beelstar Ace, if you're going to run a Musketeers package, you can plop down 2 Beelstarmon Aces and then use all your funny options and stuff like that, etc., etc. There's just a lot of great Blast Aces you can play off the Omnimon Zwart. It's kind of okay to Evo and not be able to swing if the aces played can answer the board state. Quite frankly, if you're going to pay 6 for this and you have a mem setter, and most archetypes nowadays have an extra tamer that's going to gain you a memory, so let's be generous and say you have 4 memory to play with. You pay 6 to Evo into this, you're going to put the opponent at 2. If they have a mem setter, that doesn't matter in the first place anyways, but if you play out 2 Blast Aces that just answer their board state, then I'm pretty fine with that, honestly. Like, you are offering up a bunch of memory, but quite frankly, the satisfaction from playing out 2 Blast Aces that just completely wipe your opponent's board feels pretty cool. When attacking is narrow, it does not hit all level 6 Digimon. That's a huge bummer to me, because swinging in with a big bad body like Omnimon Zwart, you would expect it to be able to clear like any level 6, but there are 13 play cost level 6 Digimon that this does not hit. Also, it has to hit an unsuspended Digimon, so if your opponent's being aggressive and swinging with their body, you cannot pop their suspended Digimon. You're going to have to swing over it with this 15k beater. Also, if this is evoed on top of an ace, you will overflow on the attack by returning that Blast Ace level 6 to your hand on attack. Also, this is non-searchable, and you can't use trainings to reduce the Evo cost. So even if you had that Mem Tamer and extra memory set up to be at 4 memory, well, you can't use a training to Evo into this because he is a white card. So you're stuck paying that full 6 unless you have a memory boost set up. So cool card, just not the best. Number 5 on this list is Z Millennium from BT19. It has Overclock Composite, which means at the end of your turn you can delete a token or a composite trait Digimon to attack without suspending. On play, when Digivolving and when attacking, by returning a Digimon card from your opponent's trash to the top of the deck, return one of their Digimon to the bottom of the deck. And then all turns, this Digimon with no sources can't suspend and is not affected by your opponent's effects. So, the removal effect here is fantastic. It triggers on Evo and when attacking, so you are going to be able to get a lot of value from that. Also, it is a bottom deck effect. We definitely prefer that over deletion effects because more cards in general have protection from deletion, not so much protection from bouncing to hand or deck, although that is also changing. If you run composite or tokens, which by the way is relatively easy to do with a Lady Devimon X antibody engine, just saying, like generically you can do that. You can bottom deck 2 Digimon in a turn, so theoretically you can Evo into this, do the thing by returning something from trash to top or bottom, and then you bounce something, and then you can trigger the overclock with the token you play off of Lady Devimon X and do it again. It is certainly a deck building restriction though, because you have to have composite trait cards, so you're either committing to doing a composite level 3-4 base so that you have bodies to play, or you're committing to doing the Lady Devimon X level 5 pool so that you have a token to pop to actually do this. So you're kind of giving up space one way or another in order to make this card a payoff. Its expensive Evo cost is mitigated by Overclock, allowing you to still attack. So while you're paying 6 Evo into this, yes, you are probably hoping to close out the game or completely obliterate your opponent's board by Evoing into it. It can usually net some positive off deleting other Digimon to swing. If you're running a composite bottom end and you're playing purple in the first place, you're trying to get value off deleting your own things. So that's not a super huge deal. Removing a card from trash can also really hurt some trash-based decks. There's some really good trash decks right now, and sniping some cards out of trash, sometimes it can put a real hamper on that. If somebody's at a certain trash threshold and then you remove a card from the trash, well, now they're in a little bit of trouble. Unfortunately, source stripping can still handicap this card pretty hard. Granted, you could still trigger the overclock to attack, but you can't suspend to get your normal attacks in, which is a bummer. Also, if somehow you had blocker on the stack, you wouldn't be able to block with it. And the Evo cost is still expensive, alongside the deck building restriction being a little bit cumbersome. You are committing probably a third of your deck to making this work one way or another. Number 5, Beelzemon Blast Mode Ace from BT19 is a Blast Evo on a level 6 purple card. On play, when Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon. If there's 10 or more in trash, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with no level restriction. When attacking, by returning 10 non-Digi-Egg cards from your trash to the top of the deck, trash your opponent's top security card. So this is the only real level 7 Blast Ace option for purple, and for that reason, it already starts off really strong as a versatile choice for you in your level 7 pool. It fits really naturally into most purple strategies. I don't think it's crazy to ask somebody to build 10 cards in trash in purple. It's going to happen. Deletion, not the greatest effect anymore, but it's still serviceable. Like we've talked about earlier, deletion protection is kind of somewhat common. Bottom decking is usually better, but that wouldn't be super thematic for purple anyways. When attacking, trash the security is also great. It helps you close out games from higher security counts, so now you're threatening game from 1 security because you can swing, trash their last security, and then check for game. But the Evo cost here is still expensive. If you don't get to ace into it, you're certainly probably going to struggle a little bit to Evo into this and swing in the same turn, unless you have the training setup or memory boost setup to get you over that memory hump. When attacking can also be a downside for some decks. If you're building trash, you usually want resources to stay in trash. So if you're playing something like, I don't know why you would run this in Digimon, but just as an off the top of the head example, and you care about the number of cards in trash, or you're playing something generically purple and you care about the number of cards in trash, and you're swinging with this and not closing the game, it is going to bite you a little bit because you're going to put 10 cards back in your deck. Granted, that does stop the deck out, but there is certainly some room for skill error if you are playing this before you can close the game just to get some aggro down. So kind of technically a downside, but I guess it's your own fault if you do that. Number 3, ShineGreymon Ruin Mode. That might baffle some of you that Ruin Mode is number 3 on this list because he is the iconic problem child. His hypothetical 10k lockout is still a really strong high roll. Locking the opponent out from promoting anything 10k or less is brutal. Netting +1 recovery and a free egg is awesome momentum. Deleting something end of attack is great value, and sometimes 2 -5k lockouts is still fantastic. So if you Evo into this, get the -5k, opponent can't promote, and you can't keep the turn, so then next turn you swing, you do the end of attack, delete it, and get another -5k, that is still perfectly serviceable. The deletion end of attack becomes more mediocre the more protection gets printed. Honestly, sometimes I find myself struggling to actually hit a target with that end of attack, which is kind of a crazy statement, but alas, it is true. And the generic 5-cost Evo is hard to pay and keep turn to attack. You do need to have like a memory setter and a training setup to actually get that payoff. And if you need a 10k lockout, this can feel bad. Like if you really, really need that to swing the game, then Ruin Mode is sometimes failing you in that aspect. I have as a note here, always performs for the opponent, always awkward for you, because when the opponent plays this card, you will get your stack blown up, you'll get locked out at 10k, and they'll hit just all the momentum to close out the game in like the next turn before you even get a stack on the board. And when you play it, you're going to get a really awkward minus 5k. You'll never get to swing with it because it gets removed by a deletion effect, and you'll be sad about it. So that's why that's there. Number 2 on this list, BoltBoutamon from EX8. When digivolving, de-digivolve 3 on one of your opponent's Digimon, and for the turn, all their Digimon get minus 6k. If you DNA digivolve, you can play up to 10 play cost total worth of NSO trait cards from the trash without paying the cost. And then all turns when other Digimon are deleted, trash your opponent's top security card. I really like BoltBoutamon. I am a BoltBoutamon advocate. De-digivolve is still the strongest removal. We talked about it earlier. De-digivolve 3 is really flexible because if you did not know, de-digivolve says technically you can de-digivolve up to 3. So if your opponent's doing some like hybrid shenanigans, you can choose what level you de-digivolve down to. Minus 6k after answering the biggest threat always guarantees a clear board. Not technically always. If you're losing really, really bad, it does not. But if your opponent's got a big stack and a couple smaller threats, this is just going to wipe their board, and that is a pretty normal board state. It's likely going to trigger its own all turns effect, netting you a free trash security. If you're de-digivolving 3 on a level 6, it's going to be level 3 and then get minus 6k, gets deleted, and then trashes the security, so that's awesome. It's also going to threaten to continue trashing security if it goes unanswered. If the opponent swings into security, loses their stack, well, this is on the board. Well, guess what? They lose a security for their hubris. It's great at breaking established boards, but it's not great at carrying momentum like Ruin Mode. So in a sense, this does not help you win harder. You're not going to lock out the opponent and stop them from playing the game off of this effect, but you are very, very effectively going to answer an opponent's stack on the board with this card. The 5-cost Evo also means you're usually passing turn. I keep harping on it because it is something to consider that if you want to Evo into this and keep turn, you got to have the resource set up to do that. Bonus points for being a cheap and accessible card. The alt art is like $5, looks great, and it does its job very well. So our number 1 level 7 purple Digimon here is the new BoltBoutamon. Definitely not recency bias, don't say that. Has piercing, sec +1, execute when digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Digimon at the highest level. If this doesn't delete, you get 5k for the turn. On deletion, play a level 6 or lower Digimon card with a ghost trait from trash without paying the cost. Can Evo on Phantomon for 6 if you have Violet in boots, and it is a 4-cost Evo on a level 6. So this is the new kid on the block. It's extremely powerful combination of effects. Piercing and execute means you'll always be able to get your 2 checks and no longer forcing you to choose if you want to swing into security or go after the opponent's body. The digivolving effect attempts to answer the biggest threat and gives you an out if it fails. Most cards with protection don't usually have effect and battle protection. So what I'm saying here is that it's going to try and delete something. If it doesn't delete something, then you get plus 5k and you can swing into that body with execute at 19k, and whatever other boost you have on it, you are most certainly going to be able to swing over something, get your 2 piercing checks, and then this is going to activate its on deletion. The 4-cost Evo is not expensive and doesn't matter due to the execute. So even though 4 is a great rate on a level 6, it doesn't even matter because you get execute. So even if you would pass turn, you get your end of turn execute trigger and you get to do your swing. The on deletion opens the opportunity to run a low count ghost engine to keep tempo. So you could either run level 3 and 4 ghost base with Violet in boots in order to get your free Evo when you float back a body, keeping a ton of momentum. Or you could run like a 4 and 5 ghost suite to float back a level 4 Evo into Phantomon, or just float back Phantomon and Evo into BoltBoutamon. There's just a lot of options you can do for this to make sure that you get a body back and keep some tempo. It's just really silly that you can do that. I love it. Analog Youth synergy, also really obvious here. Purple loves Analog Youth. It's our greatest search tool in not purple because the white tamer for some reason. Gains you memory when you do your execute trigger. If you have a mem setter and you go for this, you're going to put your opponent at 1, and then if you tap any Analog Youths, you get to float back a ghost and keep turn. That's just awesome value. And you get an egg, so you get to keep even more momentum off that. So that is it for our top 10 level 7 purple Digimon list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Thank you to our channel members for supporting this channel. It's people like Langlong, Big Z11, Coffee Deus, and DigiDane who make videos like this possible.